Welcome back to the VDC space. This is the first episode of Civil 3D. Today we're going to be doing a basic design of a highway. So we're just going to keep it as basic as we can. So I have an XML file for the surface points, so we're gonna produce the surfaces from that. If you guys want to use it, you can just subscribe to my Patreon. You can actually get it for free on my Patreon. I'm also gonna upload this project file after I'm done with it on my Patreon, so you guys can check it. So this is the first episode of Civil 3D basically, and I'm very much excited for it. We're just gonna produce the surface, and we're just gonna then produce a horizontal alignment, profiles, vertical alignment, assembly, corridors, and then we're gonna extract quantities from that. Now, before I get started, I would like to ask you guys to please subscribe to the channel if you're new. If you're already subscribed, hit that notification button as I upload BIM modeling tutorials and Revit, and in this instance, Civil 3D tutorials 3 times every week. I cover different topics from wastewater, roads and networks, highways, bridges, buildings, and so on and so forth. Now, without further ado, let's start with our project. So I'm on Civil 3D 2024, so I'm just going to open up a new project using the Civil 3D metric template. Usually for my project, I use the Devotech template, but in this instance, I'm just trying to keep everything as basic as we can. We will move into deeper things as the time goes on. For instance, the first thing I do on Civil 3D, I go to planning and analysis, and then I go to map setup, and then under coordinate system, I go to library in order for me to set up my LO system. Since I'm based in South Africa, so I can set up my coordinate system to LO31, or I can set it to 29, or I can set it to 27, and so on and so forth based on the South African coordinate system. And if you guys have a way of using coordinate system, please leave a comment on the comment section. So yeah, I'm just going to go back to the Civil 3D workspace, and then I'm just going to start with my project. So here we are on our workspace. So the first thing is I'm just going to go to insert, and then under import, I'm just going to go to land XML, and then I'm going to load in this surface that which consists of points. So I just converted it into an XML. So I'm just going to say open, and then it's going to produce this certain information. So I'm just going to say okay. Then after that, it might take a little bit long to generate those points because there are so many of them. And then after that, we're going to produce a surface, i.e. contours from those certain point groups. Don't forget to subscribe, don't forget to like, don't forget to share. We are gonna produce a lot of content, so the more you guys like, share, and subscribe, the more I'm motivated to post more content based on BIM modeling or drafting in general. So it's still loading those points. So here we are, these are the points. So the first thing is we're just going to clean up the points, and as you can see, I already created the point groups from these. So I'm going to go to NGL, right click on it and say properties, and then we have the point style and also the point label style. So I'm just going to start with the point style. I'm going to click on this symbol, and then as you can see, I always like to use the cross and also the circle, and then I'm just going to reduce its size and make it 0.25 and say apply, and then okay. And then I'm just going to do the same thing for the point label style. So we have 3 major factors when it comes to this. We have the description, number, and the elevation. So we're going to start with the description. So the text height, we're going to change it to 0.25, and then we're going to go to the point number and also change it to 0.25, and then we're going to go to the point elevation and also change it to 0.25 and say apply, and then okay and say apply, and then we're going to say okay. Now, obviously, it's cleaning up the points, the drawing per se. So I'm just gonna say okay. And as you can see, everything is much more organized. So I'm gonna go to NGL again, right click and say properties, and then I'm just gonna change this to description only and say apply, and then say okay. And now everything is much more, it's only the points now. So the next thing is we have to generate the surface from this, and in order for us to do that, we're gonna go to the tool space, and then under the tool space we have the surface. So you're gonna right click on that and say create surface, and then I'm just gonna name this to surface dash one and say okay, and then it's gonna create a drop down. So we're gonna click on that add sign, and then again, and then under definition we're gonna expand it. So under definition we have these a set of properties, and the one we're going to use is the point groups. So you have different ways of creating surfaces, but in this instance we have a point group, so we're going to use the point group. So you're going to right click on the point group and say add, and then we're going to add our NGL and say apply, and then say okay. Now it's going to generate the surface based on those points, and this is what we have. These are the contours. So we're gonna go to our point group again, NGL, and right click and say properties, and then I'm just gonna set these point style and the point label style to none because I don't want to see them anymore, and say apply, and then okay. Now we have only our surface. So the next thing is it's time to generate our highway. So the first thing you're gonna do is you're gonna go to home, and then you're gonna under create design, you're gonna go to alignment and say alignment creation tools, and then it's gonna open up this properties panel, and then we're gonna name our highway to VDC, and you can set the type of road you want. So you have the center line, the offset, the curb return, rail, and miscellaneous. So we're gonna leave it at center line, and then you can also specify your starting station. I think it's fine. It's fine at 0, and also you can also set your site, and then you can set your alignment style. So I'm gonna leave it at proposed, and also you have the alignment label set. And then when you go to your design criteria, you have the design speed, and also you can also check this use criteria based design, and then you can change these set of constraints like the super elevation. We have these, or you can set it to no super elevation. So in this instance, I'm just gonna leave it to I'm gonna leave it as default. And also you can set up your transition length table to 2-lane, or from 2-lane to 4-lane, and also you can set up your attainment method to crown roadway and also planar roadway. So these are in accordance with the American Association of State Highways and Transportation Officials. So I'm just going to uncheck this and leave it as it is, as we are keeping things as basic as we can. So I'm just going to say okay, and then it's going to open up this panel at your top left, and then you have these sets of options in terms of modeling your road. But in this instance, we're going to use the first one, which is the draw tangent. So we're going to select on this arrow that's pointing down, and you have these 3 options, which are the tangent with no curves, the tangent with curves, and also you can set up your curve and spiral settings, and then you can apply it after that. So in this instance, we're going to use the second option, which is the tangent with curves, and then we're going to click on it. Now, the first point we're going to use, I'm just going to click on this point, and then I'm gonna lay my highway. So this is gonna be our first curve, and then the second one is gonna be set there, and then my highway is gonna end there, and then I'm gonna press escape, and then after that it's gonna generate your changes and also your PIs and also your curves. Now I'm gonna press escape on there, and this is what we have. Now the next thing is you have to generate our profiles. So in terms of profiles, we have 2 major factors when it comes to that. We have the profiles for our surface, and then the profiles for our alignment. So the first one you're going to produce is for your surface. So under create design, you're going to go to surface, drop down and say create surface alignment. And then as you can see, we have the surface that we generated, surface 1. We're going to add it onto our profile and say add, and then it's going to be added. And then we're going to say draw in profile view, and then we can change the name of our profile view to, so we're going to change it to VDC Space on this instance. And then you can set up your profile view styles. So I'm just going to leave it as it is, and then you can say next. And then your station ranges or your changes, you can leave them as automatic, or you can change them yourself by using user specified range. In this instance, we're going to leave it as automatic, and then say next. And then same case when it comes to the profile view height, we have the automatic, which you can, it's set at minimum and also maximum. You can use it on by saying user specified, and then you can specify your own minimum and your own maximum. And then also you can specify your profile views, you can split them, also split your stations, which makes it easier when it comes to presentation of your road profile and your surface profile when it comes to producing your sheet. So this is the logic behind it, but in this instance I'm just going to leave it as automatic. And then I'm going to say next. And also you have your profile display options, which you can modify yourself. And then you're going to say next, and then you have your bands. Select your bands where you can show the data relating to your profile. And then also your headings or your bands, you can actually place them at the bottom of your profile or your top. In this instance, we're going to place it at the bottom. And then we're going to say next again, and these are your hatches related to your cut and fill. And then you can say create profile view, and then you're going to click next to your surface and road, and then this is basically your surface profile. So after generating your surface profile, you're going to have to generate a profile for your road, which you will have to place right there. So you're going to select your profile view, and then it's going to open up these options. So you're going to say under Launchpad, you're going to say profile creation tools, and then you're going to rename it. So I'm just going to name it VDC VA for vertical alignment, and then you can set up your profile style under general. So I'm going to leave it as design profile, and I'm just going to leave our profile level set as it is. And then also you can set up your design criteria by checking this box. In this instance, I'm just going to leave it like that, and then I'm just going to say okay. And then it's going to open up this option again, similar to your horizontal profile. So we're going to use the first one, and then we're going to say draw tangent with curves, and then I'm going to start on this point, and I'm just going to bring it down. So there's going to be fill on these regions, and then I'm just going to cut through this surface, and then I'm going to place it right there and press escape. After saying escape, it's going to produce my vertical alignment, and then it's going to create your PVIs, and also the K factors are going to be specified, but also you can modify this information if you want. But in this instance, I'm just going to leave it like that. So your vertical alignment is generated. Now the next thing is we're going to have to generate our assembly. So under create design, you're going to go to assembly again and say create assembly, and then we're going to rename assembly to VDC. And we have different assembly types which you can set up yourself. So I'm just going to leave it at other, and then assembly style. We have the basic and also code set styles and assembly layers. So I'm just going to say okay, and then place it right there. And after that, as you can see, this is the assembly assembly point, and this is basically your insertion point which you will use to place your assembly. So you're gonna have to select it, and then it's gonna open up this options. So under Launchpad, you're gonna click on Tool Palette, and after you click on Tool Palette, it's gonna open up different sets of options which you can use for your assembly. So for instance, if you click on this library, you can go to bridges, and then you can actually place your superstructure by using this as your insertion point. And now it's going to be set like that. So this is basically your assembly for your bridge. But in this instance, we are not modeling a bridge, we are modeling a road. So we're gonna go to basic. We are keeping things basic. So we're gonna select basic lane, and then we're gonna place one on each side, and then I'm gonna select these two, and then actually I'm gonna select one, and then under modify subassembly, we're gonna go to subassembly properties, and then we have information, parameters, and codes. So we're gonna use parameters, and it sets on the right. So I'm just gonna increase the width and make it 5 meters, and I think the depth, I'm just gonna make it 300 meters, 300 millimeters or 0.3 meters. And then the slope, I think it's fine at -2, and then I'm gonna say apply, and then okay. And then I'm gonna do the same thing for this one. So I'm just gonna change it to 5 meter at width, and then the depth I'm gonna change it to 0.3 and say okay. Now it's gonna change like this. Now we have the chamfer. I think everything is fine. The next thing is we're gonna place our curb. So I'm gonna use this option, basic curb and gutter, and then I'm just gonna place it on this point, and then it's gonna be detected and be placed like that. Then I'm gonna place one on this side. The next thing is I'm gonna place our basic shoulder. So for our shoulder, I'm gonna place it on this point and also on this point. And then after that, I'm gonna use our daylight. So I'm going to use this option, basic side slope cut ditch, and then select it. And then I'm going to place it on this point, and also I'm going to place it on this point. So we're going to have our cut and fill quantities set up. Now I'm just going to escape the tool palette, and our assembly is basically done. So the next option is the next step is we have to create a corridor based on our alignments, our profiles, and also our assembly. So we're gonna go to under create design, you're gonna drop down the corridor and say corridor, and these are the options. So I'm gonna rename my corridor to VDC, and then we're gonna have to attach our let's start with our alignment. So I'm gonna select my alignment. So this is my alignment, so I'm gonna select it, and also I'm gonna select my assembly. So my assembly is selected, so I think everything, and then I'm gonna set my target surface to surface 1, and I think everything is all set, and I'm gonna say okay. And now the corridor is gonna be generated, and now I'm gonna set up my targets. So I'm gonna select on these 3 dots, and I think my targets are all set, which is surface 1. So I'm gonna say okay, and then I'm gonna say apply, rebuild corridor, and then it's gonna open up these warnings. So I'm gonna say okay, and then close this down, and then go to my surface. So this is basically my corridor. So if I select it, right click, go to object viewer, and then rotate it. This is basically how it looks. So I'm gonna close this down. Now after this, I'm gonna drop down my corridor under my tool space. So I'm gonna right click on the VDC, go to properties, and then we have information, parameters, codes, feature lines, surfaces, boundaries, slope patterns. Now the next thing is we're gonna go to parameters, and actually we're gonna go to surfaces instead. Yeah, let's go with surfaces, and we're gonna select this create corridor surface. So this makes it easier for us to create corridor surface based on the data we have, such as the top surface and also the data. But let me not do it right now. Let me just generate quantities based on what we have right now. So the next thing is we're gonna go to section views, actually sample lines, and on our sample lines we're gonna press enter, and then we're gonna select our alignment and say okay, and then I'm gonna rename this to VDC again. And as you can see, to create your sample line group, we have the sample line styles and also you have your descriptions and sample line layer. So you're gonna say okay, and then it's gonna open up this option. So you're gonna set it to VDC, and then after that you're gonna go to as you can see on this symbol, it says press down the arrow to select an action, or just click the button, and then you're going to select this arrow. So in this instance, we're going to go with create sample line group. I think that's fine. So you're going to say okay, and then we're going to, in order for us to create our sample lines, we're going to go with this option, sample line creation method. And the method we're going to use, we want our sample lines to be placed at an interval of 20 meters. So we're going to go with by a range of stations. And then as you can see, it's set up at 20 meters, 20 meters, 20 meters increments, and also at the curves, tangents, and spirals. So you're going to say OK, and then press enter. And now your sample lines are created, which means your cross sections are going to be created at a 20-meter interval for the entire highway. So after that, we're going to go to view. We're going to go to analyze. So in order for you to compute materials, so you have to actually create sample lines first. So you're going to say compute material, and then you're going to select your alignment, which is VDC. Select the sample line group, which is the VDC also, and say OK. And then we have the quantity takeoff criteria. You're going to set it to cut and fill, and volume calculation method, average, and so you can say average and area. So let's go with composite volume. So your surface, you're going to set it to, okay, let's go with, let's see what we have. So we have to generate our corridor surface before we work with this. So let's just go to cancel. So you're going to right click on this properties and say you're going to select this and then set it to top link. And then you're going to set the top link to pave, and then you're going to add it under this top link. You're going to add another corridor surface, set the overhang correction to bottom link, and then you're gonna set it to datum, and then add the datum under that. Go to boundaries, click on the first one, right click, corridor extenders outer boundary, do the same thing for the second one, apply, rebuild the corridor, and say okay. And then as you can see, it's gonna change like that. Now let's compute our materials. So the next thing is sample lines. So you're gonna select sample lines, press enter, and then it's gonna give you an option of selecting an alignment, and then you're gonna say okay. And then you can rename this. So I'm gonna rename this to VDC space. And as you can see from creating those corridor surfaces for the datum and the top pave, we have these two. We actually have the main corridor, the top surface, and also the datum. So for the data sources to sample, we're going to select our corridor itself, and then the sample line style, we can leave it like that along with the sample line label style, and then we're going to say okay. And then make sure that the sample line group that you've created, it's appearing on this panel. And then as you can see, you will say create sample line group in this or in these options, and then you're gonna say let me just say create. You're gonna select your corridor and say okay. And then for your sample line creation method, you're gonna do it by a range of stations. So you're gonna create it at an increment of 20 meters based on your changes. So you're gonna say okay, and then you're gonna say press escape, and then it's gonna be set up like this at 20-meter changes. So your profile views, your cross sections are gonna be based on these changes. So after that, we're gonna go to analyze, and then you're going to say compute material, which depends on the sample line group that you have created. So we're going to select VDC space and say OK. And then as you can see, we're going to set the quantity takeoff criteria to cut and fill, volume calculation method to average and area. And then as you can see, for the existing ground, we're going to set it to okay, let's just say cancel. Then we're going to say complete material, and then we can set it to sample line collection. And then okay, let's see, this doesn't work. Select the last one, so you're going to say okay. And then you can set your existing ground to surface 1 based on the surface you have created. The datum, which is based on the corridor surface that you have created, which is the datum based on that link. So it's the last one. So it's actually this one. So you're going to say OK. And then your materials are computed. Now it's time to plot your material table. So you're going to go to material volume table. And then you're gonna say table style, area, and volume. I think that's fine. Alignment, it's VDC. Sample line group, I'm gonna set it to collection 5, the last one. Material list, I'm gonna set it to this one. So I'm gonna start with material cut, which is in this instance it's ground removed. And then I'm gonna say okay, and then I'm gonna plot it right there. So these are your cut volumes, and then I'm going to go to material volume again, set it to collection 5, and then for my fill I'm going to say okay, and then plot it like this. So these are your fill volumes. And now for total volume, I'm going to select the 5. Actually, for this one I'm going to go to material volume, go to 5, and then okay, this is fine. I think we are done with that. So the next thing is we're gonna go to, let's go to compute material, and as you can see, it computed your material based on cut and fill. But also I would like to add another one, which is the top surface. So I'm gonna go to add new material, add new material, and then I'm going to set this material to structures, and then under surface, under data type, I'm going to set it to corridor shape, and I'm going to set it to pave number 1, and then I'm going to add it in, and make sure your quantity type is set to structure. So it's going to calculate the amount of volume that you have for your pave, if I can put it that way. Say apply, and then okay. Now I'm gonna generate material for that pave. So I'm gonna set my sample line group to the last one I generated, and I'm gonna set my material to material 4, which is my pave, and then I'm gonna say okay, and then I'm gonna place it right like this. So this is basically the volume for the material I have on top. So if I can just select my corridor, go to object view, and then so this is basically the volume for this part, if I can put it that way. And also we have the cut, and also for the fill. So after that, the next thing is you're gonna go to home, and then go to section views. This depends on the sample line, so you're gonna go to create multiple views, and then you can rename your view. So I'm gonna rename it VDC space, and then after that, make sure your alignment is selected, and then your sample group name is selected, and then you're gonna say next. You can set it to production, you can set it to draft, but there are reasons why you set it to draft, and also you set it to production. As you can see, for your production, use a layout from the template. For your draft, it places sections in grid in the model space. Sheet cannot be created using this option. So let's just go with the first one, next, and then you can set up your offset ranges. So I'm just going to say next, and also your elevation ranges. I'm going to say next, and say next, next. And then for this one, I'm gonna add in my total volumes, and I'm gonna say create section views, and then I'm gonna place it right at the bottom like this. And this is basically what we have. So we have the cut and also the fill, and then it's gonna be annotated by this. As you can see, this is the fill. This green hatching is the fill. And let me just scroll to the cut. Let's see where we have the cut. So this is the cut. We have this red hatching, which symbolizes the cut. So yeah, this is basically the basics of creating a road design using Civil 3D. You have to generate your surface, you have to generate your alignment, your profiles, your assemblies, your corridor surfaces, and also your materials and volumes. So thank you guys for watching. I tried to keep it as basic as I could. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I will certainly uh, create more content when it comes to Civil 3D, and thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe and share, and I hope I can see you on the next tutorial. Let me just finish this tutorial by going to analyze and say drive, and then I'm going to select my corridor line, select crown, say okay. Then let's see, the speed is 40 kilometers an hour, and then I'm gonna press play. Let me just increase the speed and make it let's see, with 80, and this is what we have. Just pause it. Let's make it 145 and press play. So this is how the road basically moves. And this is where it ends. Let's just go to drive again. Set to crown. So it's gonna start at 0 this time, 145, press OK. So this is basically your highway, your basic highway design. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope I can see you. Please subscribe to my Patreon. You will get this file, and also you will get my XML file, and I hope you guys can use it for whatever case you have. Peace.